So Josh, when you've got a new, someone's trying to bring a new product in, what Anthony was saying is, I think it's great, right? Having a brand has a lot of value, right? Because if someone has, otherwise you've got whatever design aesthetic on a package, no one's ever heard of it. They want you to put it on your shelf, but how are they going to support that, right? If people haven't heard of the brand or it has no other association to them, how often do you see someone pick up something random and say, "Oh, I'm gonna try this," or is that
especially
never?
If it's $50 eighth, yeah.
Yeah. Is it? And then, does it then become part of the bud tender? Is the key part there if you've got a new brand? But if you're buying something, you have to think about your shelf space is valuable, right? So is that like a question that you ask people, like, how are you going to support this? What is your marketing budget in this area to get awareness out?
We certainly we ask, do you have the support to run vendor days, to run even if it's ghost pop-ups where you don't have a physical person in store, but we run a promo and highlight your brand, and we can get reimbursement for any product that we sell on that day. Like those types of things that I can honestly just bring to my team and say, hey, this is a vendor that wants to help us out. Everybody right now is stretched super thin and doing way more than what they're asked to do. So any symmetry and partnership where it's a brand that's bringing more than just a product to our shelves and to our stores says a lot. It stands out. There also was something that Anthony mentioned that wanted to touch on, understanding where you fit in the market and what other brands you see yourself competing with is a major self-awareness step that's needed. I oftentimes will ask brands, who do you see yourself competing with? Because then that gives me a sense of what the price should be, simply based off of not only what those other brands are selling their products at, but how the customers responded to those brands. A lot of people want to be the 710 labs of rosin. However, rosin sales are limited. So I think some people feel like, oh, that's the next golden goose, rather than just really thinking about the market, about the customer base, and who it is that they want to be within that market.
Everybody wants to be craft beer, right? I'll use the beer analogy, but Budweiser and Modelo sell the most. Right. So it's understanding what your product is and just letting the customer know what that product is. And we learn this along the way, and meeting with these different buyers and understanding how we can support them is important. Jake, to add to that and to add to what Josh was saying is I think a really good way to get your products in front of the right buyers is also not going after every single store in the state. Right? Because you can't support, a small brand cannot support at the retail level vendor days, digital marketing, social media, all of those things that are difficult just for one store, let alone 50, 100 stores. I think the strategy should be pick 5 stores and go hard with those 5 stores first. Develop a strong relationship with the Joshes of those 5 stores, the bud tenders of those stores, and then really, really attack that, and then scale out and grow like a bush and not like a tree, because you're not going to be able to support that unless you have millions of dollars worth of budget. And in a state like California, if you live in Southern California, how do you get to the stores that are 6, 7, 8 hours away? You just can't do it, right? Without a large budget. And if you're dealing with minimum case packs, we're talking about $100 to $300 per case pack of profit that you're making on a case pack, right? So, maybe the store can sell 3 to 4 case packs a month, but you got to really understand your budgets and really understand what it takes to actually support a retail, because it's not just blanket social media. Like, you have to do targeted things with that particular store that's going to require a budget. And so, I think understanding that is even important before you even go and knock on Josh's door.
And when you say 5 stores, are you talking about 5 locations or 5? Because like a store could be considered like a retail brand that could have like 5 locations around Southern California.
So that's a great question. It could mean either or. So what I mean is just 5 locations that you would pick. That those are, and that's an arbitrary number. Obviously, you know what your minimum MOQ batch size is when you manufacture something. So if you're a small brand like 40 tons, we may only be able to, do a 20-pound batch. And let's just say we're using flour as an example, right? That's 2,400 approximate eighths, right? So you figure out, okay, how many eighths can I get in a case pack, and what's the sell-through rate for each store? And then what is a typical re-up look like in 3 to 4 weeks? So then you can also make sure your supply chain is right. Because one thing I know Josh probably super dislikes is when he puts a new brand on his shelf and then the brand can't resupply when the re-up comes because they haven't got their supply chain in order. So really understanding that, I think, is so important to a buyer, more so than just, hey, I'm going to advertise that I'm in your store, but really understanding the operations, the supply chain mechanics, so that you can really handle the business.